Hey, what is up guys? It's the Michigan Minecrafter back here with another video, and as you can see, I am back on the Bixopolis map, but this time I am out at sort of my beach house out here in the jungle. And you might be wondering, Rowan, why does Minecraft look so ugly? I'm used to seeing shaders in your videos now. Well, the reason it looks so ugly is because that is the exact purpose of this video today, is to go through and test out all the different shaders. So first off, I figured it would be good just to go back and show you how just awfully disgusting it looks without shaders. And honestly, it looks worse than it normally does. Just, oh my gosh, that music's so loud, jeez. It looks worse than it normally does because even on the old computer I couldn't have my render distance up this high, so when it's this high all the textures get blended together far away, and things up close don't look terrible, but it's just kind of the generic way that you expect to see Minecraft. But if we go and try out one of our first shaders, let's see, let's try out this one, the Airlock Ultra, Shader Ultra. I guess I haven't had to pronounce any of the names of these shaders yet. I've definitely gone through and tried all of them out individually, but I haven't actually had to pronounce any of their names yet. Okay. This one's alright. I can see a little bit of a bloom effect on some of the lighting and everything, and the leaves and stuff are moving, but the water, oof. That's a deal breaker right there, I have to admit. Oh, the shadows are alright, I guess. And I'm not even getting that good of performance with this, which is kind of... Yeah, I expect more. Definitely from a shader that doesn't really add a whole lot to the game, especially with water and stuff. But it's there, I guess. Let's see, what do we got next? Oh! Wait, I thought I clicked on that. Oh, that was Dr. Dread's shader? Okay, you guys have seen that one before. That was actually the one that I did when I paired up the Dr. Dread's shader with Lively, I can't even speak English today. The Lively default texture pack a while back on my Michigan map, and was saying that it was like the ultimate resource pack slash shader combination. But of course that was before I knew I was going to get a new computer, and that it can't even compare now. So let's actually try this one out. There we go. Okay, this looks like a nice one. Whoa. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Forget about this not being a very good shader, because this is definitely a nice one. It's got nice calm water, which is nice. Oh, I definitely like the way that the underwater looks with this. It basically looks the way that water does when you put on a night vision potion. I don't know if you guys have ever done that before, but basically when you put on a night vision potion and go underwater without any shaders or anything on, you can basically see infinitely. Like, there's no fog effect like there normally is. So yeah, just kind of a cool little tip there. But there is Bixopolis in the distance. Not super thrilled with the clouds in this shader. I mean, they're alright, but I definitely like my volumetric clouds. And I don't know if you guys can see this with the quality of the video and everything, but there is a bit of an FOV effect. There you go. Now you can see it. Oh, it gets a little grainy when you're up close like that, but yeah, I can forgive that. So, pretty good shader overall. Would recommend if you're not looking to do insanely intense shaders on your computer. And then, let's see, which one do we want to do next? I kind of want to do them in order of awesomeness, I guess. So I guess we have skipped one already if we're doing that in that order, which is Silder's basic shaders. So basically, if you have a computer that can't run shaders at all, but you still want to get like motion blur effects or DOF effects, Silder's basic shaders is definitely the way to go. You can see it looks a little bit different, like the colors and stuff look a little more saturated, but it just kind of leaves everything basic, as it says in the title. It's not lying about anything. and gives you that nice little motion blur effect. And it's kind of the same situation with the DOF one. And then if we continue going up, I'd say the next one is probably CUDA, the CUDA shaders. And this one, even though it's the fourth shader I'm showing you guys, I would argue that this is actually a really, really nice shader. Because the water it's decent. You can see all the way through it, which is definitely a nice add-on, as I was saying before. But it adds that nice motion blur effect, which I don't know why I'm lagging so much. Usually this shader performs probably best out of all of them for me. I think it's just because of Pixopolis being kind of an intense world to render, and I kind of want to keep the skyscrapers loading in the background, because I have my render distance actually all the way up to 25 chunks. So if that tells you anything about the power in this computer, oh man, it's crazy. So yeah, pretty decent shader. Got some nice shadows going on. Hopefully the video is not too frame laggy, because this is actually a really, really nice shader for just looking around and doing whatever you do with motion blur effects. And then let's see, which one do we want to do next? We're getting down to our really nice ones now. Ooh, Paolo's Lagless shader. This is definitely one that I would recommend if your PC is not super great, because this water actually used to be my favorite out of any shader. This was one of the first shaders that I ever consistently used, even on the old computer, just because it ran okay. I had to have Minecraft open in a smaller window, but it was worth it for sure. But yeah, so very nice reflection effect on the water and everything. It runs decently. Again, I think it's my render distance, so I might actually just turn that down now. That way you guys can actually get the full effect of the shaders when they're using a decent frame rate. There we go. Get those last couple chunks loaded in, and now we're running smoothly. A little bit. There we go. I think the jungle might also be a bit resource intensive, so probably not the best idea on my part, but let's move on to the next one. Let's see here. The next one would probably either be one of these two kind of independent shaders right here. It's Magic Mellon and Plunder Pixels shaders. And the reason I say kind of independent little ones is because they don't have a bunch of other versions of themselves, or at least I haven't downloaded all the other versions of them. But yeah, so Plunder Pixels is kind of a weird one, but I like it. It's pretty cool. The water's a little funky, but I think the lighting and everything is really, really cool. Especially like in the distance and everything, how things kind of get lighter. Whereas with other shaders, if they have a limit on where their shadows can be, you end up seeing kind of like a barrier between where the shader's loading in and where it just looks like normal Minecraft textures, which always looks kind of gross. And then, yeah. So, pretty nice shader overall. Again, the water's a little funky, but I'm willing to overlook that for the quality of the lighting and everything in this one. And then, let's see what its Magic Mellon looks like, because I haven't actually seen this one in a while. I remember it being a really, really oversaturated one. Very, very simple water, but in a way it's kind of nice, because I think... especially when you have like little bodies of water, obviously it's not as cool on the ocean, but when you have little bodies of water, it doesn't look as weird as when you have like a little tiny area of water and just huge waves on it like you do with some of the other shaders, because that sometimes looks a little funky. But yeah, that's about it. Kind of, like I said, oversaturated. So it makes everything look kind of dark, and unfortunately this is one of those shaders where you can see what I was just talking about earlier, where there's a very vivid border to where the shader cuts off and it just looks like normal Minecraft textures. Well, not completely normal, but sort of weird because the shadows aren't loading in. So yeah, that's one of the downfalls to this shader. But overall, still pretty cool. I like the way that the sun shows off of everything. And there's like no fog effect, which is kind of refreshing because a lot of the other shaders have like really intense fog in the distance that makes everything look weird. But yeah, so that was It's Magic Mellon's shader. And I think we're finally getting into the really awesome ones. So Mr. Meep's shaders, the next one I want to show. This is definitely a very high quality one. You can see very nice like indoor light blooming effects and everything. It doesn't have like the brightness adjustment that you sometimes see with like Sonic Ether's shaders and everything. And actually, let me just reset the time of day to 0 so that we can kind of have an even comparison between all these shaders. So yeah, pretty nice shader. The sun looks a little funky when you put it up in the corner, because then all of a sudden you can see the square. But you see that with a lot of shaders, and that's probably something they'll change in future updates and everything. But yeah, very cool. Actually, I meant to look at this with all the other shaders, but this is an example of a shader with some pretty nice like sun ray effects, which I always appreciate, especially because I couldn't run shaders that had those on the old computer. But yeah, so very nice little shader right there. And then we are getting into, I think, our last 2 or 3 here. So first of all, Choco Pix, I thought it was Choco Pix shaders, but there we go. So I think this is pretty highly regarded in the Minecraft community as being a super realistic shader. And already right off the bat, I haven't experimented with this one very much, just because everybody uses it and I figured I already knew what it looked like. But look at that. Like, just the way that it looks in the distance is really, really cool. And then I have to admit, like, the shading in the distance on the trees and everything is pretty neat too. Yeah, overall, really, really nice shader. Nothing super exciting about the water. I mean, it looks alright. It definitely, obviously looks way better than default water. But overall, not too bad. Got some little waves and everything. And actually, I've forgotten to pay attention to the fact that some of these shaders actually add like a 3-dimensional wave to the water, which sometimes it's hard to tell whether it's just a texture or whether it's actually bobbing up and down. But this would be one of the ones where it actually is. But yeah, very, very cool shader right there. And which one do we have next? Let's see. No more at the bottom. These ones down here, if you want to look them up and try them out for yourself, for some reason, like, the versions that I got or something, or, like, using Optifine to run them, makes the water in these shaders lose its texture. So I don't want to review these ones just because I feel like it'll be kind of biased with the water not having a texture, especially since that's so important to shaders looking awesome. But that was Choco Pix, so let's do the Continuum shader. So the Continuum shader was a little experiment that I was doing, actually, because you may recognize, if you're like active in the like Minecraft shader community or anything, or like graphical updates for Minecraft, this is the shader that people were doing lots of PBR effects to, which I forget what that stands for, but basically it means that there's like physical bumps in textures on it, which was really, really hard to run on my computer because it comes with a custom resource pack, and then you have this shader, so very, very resource intensive. I had to have my my settings all the way down in order to not crash when I was starting up. Whoa. Wow. I gotta give it props for making the shadow stretch all the way over here from something that's actually a light source. So that's a little weird, but very cool at the same time. Yeah, so that was the Continuum shader, it's a little weird. Like, for some reason it's got this effect that kind of looks like one of those old three-dimensional movies with the red and blue glasses around the edges of things in the water, and it's a little grainy, which I'm sure there's things that you can go into the code and change that'll help smooth everything out, because this is one of those shaders that you kind of go in and edit things to your preferences, and I don't really know how to do that yet. But if you look up the Continuum shader, there is so much stuff out there that you guys can customize and do with it if you're interested. But yeah, so that was the Continuum shader. And last but not least, we have the Sonic Ether's Unbelievable Shaders version 11, which by far is my favorite, just because of how well it runs, and right as I'm saying that, it lags out. But yeah, oh my gosh, and the water and everything is just absolutely amazing. Jeez, yeah, what do I even say? Like, I've already explained how awesome this shader is, and you guys have seen it in the last couple of videos, but it's so awesome. I can't even believe it. And like, even with the shadow textures and everything turned up, I'm still getting a very, very decent frame rate. So before we finish off, I just want to turn my my render distance all the way up so that, oh my gosh, what is going on? Why does it just skip all the way back on me? There we go. Just turn that render distance. Oh my goodness. There we go. I just got to hold my mouse right there. For some reason, it just lags so bad when I'm adjusting the render distance, but there we go. And that way we will be able to hopefully see Bixopolis in the distance before we finish off the video. And there it is. Oh my goodness. But yeah, that's about it, guys. If you guys have any other shaders that you want me to showcase with my brand new computer, just to see what it looks like when it's running really nicely, which fortunately losing that frame rate again because 25 chunks. But yeah, if you guys have any other shaders to suggest, definitely be sure to leave that in the comments below, and I will hop right on that, because oh my gosh, I'm just so preoccupied with these shaders lately. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed, definitely be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this, and I will see all of you guys in the next video.